Hi, in this series, I'm going to explain how to create the camera tracking and how to export those camera tracking to the Maya. So first of all, in this video, I'm going to explain how to create the camera tracking here. So in order to make an camera tracking, we have to take an camera track node. So I will select the footage and search for camera tracker. So in order to get this menu, we have to click on tab so that you can able to search for the nodes here. So you have to double click on this camera track. So we need to do some settings here. So for suppose if you go to the settings option, here you can see there is an option like number of features. So what are these options is if you want to increase number of tracking points, so we have to increase this number. For example, if you click on this preview features, now you can see there are some tracking points which the Nuke is going to create. So suppose if you increase this number, so it will increase the number of trackings. So for time being, I will put into default like 150. So here next we can set this camera motion to free camera because in this the video is moving freely. Next we have to come to camera tracker, and here lens distortion for timing we'll put it to unknown lens. And here the range. At present, I'm going to put the range from 0 to 200. In case in any situations, if you want to track only from 50 to 100, for example, so you can put it to custom, and here you can type the number of frames from where you want to track the camera. So for timing, I will put it to input and click on track. So after completing the track, we have to click on this solve option. So click on solve. After clicking on solve, the Nuke will search for the good tracks and the bad tracks. So what the thing is, we can see here the green tracker points are the good tracks and the red tracker points are nothing but the bad tracks. So now what we need to do is we need to remove these red trackers. So in order to do that, we have to go to auto tracks here. So now here there is an option called minimum length. So first of all, we have to change this minimum length. So by defaultly it is 3. So for time being, I will put the minimum length to like 15 or 20. So what is this minimum length is? Suppose if I put the minimum length to 20, so what the Nuke will do is it will delete the trackers which is less than 20 frames. Okay, so the tracker points which is more than 20 frames will stay, and the remaining the tracker points which is less than 20 frames will be removed here. So it depends on the duration of the footage here. Suppose if we have only like 100 frames of duration, then here the minimum length you can put it to like 10 or something. Suppose if the duration is like 500 or 1000 frames, you can increase up to like 50 to 100 frames here. So for time being, for this footage, I'm going to put the minimum length to 20. And now what we have to do is we have to click on this unsolve, and we have to click on this delete rejected. So when we click on this delete rejected, whatever the tracker points are below 20 frames will be removed here. So these are the good tracking points here. Now if you want to see this in the 3D, now you can press tab here. So if you press tab, you can see the tracking points in the 3D. But still the thing is the tracking points are not exactly on the ground level, and also we need to create the camera here. Now we need to create a camera which is matching the movements of the original video. So we have to double click on this and we need to go to camera tracker, and here there is an option export. In export we have to click on this scene. After selecting the scene, and we have to click on create. So when we click create here, it will create some nodes. So it will create a camera in which the movements of the camera is same like an original video, and this is a scene here. So what the thing is, whatever the 3D models you are going to place in the footage, all the 3D models has to be connected to the scene here, and this point cloud is nothing but these are the tracking points which you can see here. These are the tracking points here. Now let's say I will connect this viewer to the scene, so press 1. Now you can see now Nuke has been created the camera in which the movements of the camera is same like an original video. If I play, you can see. Okay. So now what we need to do is we have to set the tracking points to the ground level. So for suppose if I go to like camera tracking, now That means like we need to say the nuke that these tracking points belong to the ground level. So why? Because without like specifying the ground level, we cannot place the 3D object properly. Because in suppose if you want to place any vehicle here, so we need to the nuke need to know that these tracking points are the nothing but the ground level. So in order to do that, we need to select some of the tracking points here. Let's say I will select these tracking points by holding shift. And now we have to right click on any one of the tracking point, and we have to go to ground plane and select this option set to selected. Now Nuke has been created at the ground level. So if you go to tab here, now you can see all the tracking points has been set to the ground level. That means literally when we export this camera tracking to the Maya, exactly we can place the models whatever you want, which will match to the ground level. So for example, if you want to test this, we can create a card here. So for example, see, you have to right click on any one of the tracking point, and here you can create, and there is an option like card. So what the thing is, as I said, whatever the 3D models you want to see, we have to connect this 3D model to scene here. So that means I will connect to here. Now I will go to the 3D tab. Now you can see the card is like facing towards the wrong direction. Now we need to change the directions of the card. So in order to do that, we have to click on this card, and here you can change the rotations. For timing, I will put everything to 0, 0, 0. Now we need to put like the x-axis to 90 degrees, for example. So I will put the x-axis to 90 degrees. And also for timing, the ping trackers which are set to as an ground. So what I will do is I will align this card exactly to the ground level. So what we need to do is we need to rotate a little bit. So I will rotate in Z axis. You can select this value and you can use up arrow down arrow to change the values here. And also, first of all, if I want to navigate in the 3D, if you want to orbit around, you have to hold Alt right click so that you can orbit around the level here. And if you want to zoom in, zoom out, just you can use a mouse middle scroll button. And for panning purpose, we need to click the middle mouse button and drag here. So now I will use the scale option. So I will scale in the y-axis for timing. Okay, after connecting this card to the scene, now suppose if you click on this scene and if you press 1, the viewer will be shift to scene, and still here we cannot see the footage and also the model here. So what the thing is, when we connect the viewer to the scene, still it will show only in the 3D here. So suppose if I want to see this plane in the 2D footage, so what we need to do is first we need to take an node called Scanline render. So we need to take an Scanline render. So what is the use of this Scanline render is, whatever the 3D models you have been connected to the scene, the total 3D models will be shown in the footage here. So the connections are simple. So what we need to do is for scanline render, we have an 3 inputs. So what the thing is camera. So simple, we have to connect this to camera, and the object scene, we have to connect to scene, and the BG, we need to connect to the footage here. Okay. And now see, whenever you're connecting these nodes, sometimes the connections will be overlapped. So in order to get rid of this confusion, you can hold control so that you will get this like nodes. So what the thing is, just you need to click on this and drag so that we can organize the nodes properly. So these are nothing but we'll call it as an dots. So if you hold control left click, it will create an dots. So now we need to connect this viewer to scanline render, and we press tab to see in the footage here. And for time being, if you want to hide these tracking points, you can select this point clouds and click on disable here. So now if you press on play, see it has been tracked properly, but still the plane is not exactly to the ground level. So we need to adjust little bit rotations here. So like suppose I will rotate in y-axis little bit, and we can hold control in order to adjust this plane here also. So if you hold control, you will get the rotation option, and here we can adjust this. So now if you click on play, it has been tracked properly. So here in Nuke, I don't want to place any 3D model. So I want to export this camera tracking to the Maya. In Maya, we will place the model and we will create the lightings and shadows, and the lighting will be matched according to the environment. So in order to do that, we have to take right geo node. So there is a node called right geo. We have to select and we have to connect this right geo to scene here. And now we have to double click on this right geo. And here we have to browse the location where you want to save. So click on file and browse the location. For time being, I will put onto the desktop and I will create the folder new to Maya folder. In that, I will give the file name here. So let's say I will name it as cam track and make sure we have to type dot fpx. So because now whatever the camera trackings are there, we are going to export in the fbx format. So we have to give the name dot fpx and here we can select the final version of this. So fpx. And here if you're suppose in case if you're using Maya 2011 or 13, here you can select the 13 or something, but at present I'm going to use Maya 2020. So final here you can see FBX 2030, 2016. So click on this and make sure while exporting we have to enable this point clouds. Okay, and also let's say you export this card too, because what the thing is, if you want to place the model in the Maya, at least we need to know where we want to place the model here. So that's why I'm exporting the card. And also here, make sure you have to enable all the geometries also. And now we have to click on this execute. Execute, and now we have to export 0 to 200. Now the total tracking points has been exported. So in the next video, we will see how to import the tracking points into the Maya and we'll see how to place the model and some of the lightings.